Welcome back to the LEC Summer Split. Just before we move on to our next game, we need to award the Kia Player of the Game, and it was Misfits winning with 58% of the vote. He had a fantastic time, Kench. Congratulations to XL Esports picking up their first win. Now, we do need to rush into the next game. It is a fight between two teams that are on the brink of disaster, Vitality and Misfits Gaming. They are both 2 wins and 5 losses, on the verge of missing playoffs. Both of these teams over the last 2 years went to Worlds and helped represent EU, and now they suck.
Yeah, now it's all just falling apart, right? So we're seeing Misfits trying to readjust the pieces, try to figure out what is the best jungle mid lane duo to have in their games. I think it was very clear Leader was not ready for the LEC stage. They've now put Febvin back into the roster. Even though it was just 2 games, it was very weak. So they're trying to figure out the pieces that will give them some form of success here.
This game and next Friday's game will then mark the halfway point in summer. So whoever wins today could be the only team with a shot at making it into playoffs. You mentioned Febvin is back. When I look at both Misfits and Vitality, I think I see similar problems. Individuals not performing to their level, team decisions, communication issues. I just want to single out one particular player. It's Soaz. It's somebody that I think has gone a little bit under the radar on the Misfits squad. And when I think back to last year when he was playing with Bwipo, he was better than Bwipo last year. And 2019, I haven't seen the same Soaz that I was expecting.
Yeah, it's been a very different story from him, and we see so many mistakes. I think 7 isolated deaths so far this split, which is among the highest for top laners in our league. Yesterday against Caps, he just is randomly dying in lane as Vladimir, which just should never be happening for him. For a player of this caliber, for a player with this type of history, he must be better than he is right now.
Now, similarly, Jizuke on the Vitality side, he had some choice words yesterday saying, would you rather I go 0-0-0 and do nothing? Or what do you want me to do? Now, I like the sentiment that Jizuke is trying to put out there, that he wants to be proactive. He wants to make plays. But then they've kind of got to work if you're going to say that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather see him go 0-0-0 doing nothing than going 0-5-0 and doing nothing, you know? It's like, yes, I want to see him making plays. Jizuke should be making plays, but when you're getting dove underneath your tower, that's not making plays. That's just being outclassed on individual level and on a team level.
And of course, you have to call out Mowgli to a degree, or at least the team, for communication, for visioning. Because when we were chatting earlier today, you were quite critical of Mowgli's lack of impact.
Yeah, I mean, Mowgli for me has been a player that is very hard to read as a jungler because he loves to counter jungle, but he usually isn't that far ahead at 15 minutes and that sort of thing. But so far this split, it has just not been working for his team. I look at his pathing in games and it's very selfish. It's not showing up to protect your vulnerable lanes. So yesterday, there's a situation where Cabochard is flashless, stuck having to push out top lane. Mowgli has a very easy opportunity to go up there and help him out. Instead, he's on the bottom side of the map. Cabochard is Vitality's best player. You can't avoid him. You must give him resources.
The question I have for you then, is this an individual error, or do you think this is a team error in terms of calls or communications or decision making?
I mean, when I'm looking at early jungle pathing, the early game should be dictated mostly by the jungler. I have to call out Mowgli. You look mid to late game, that's where it becomes more of a team-wide decision, but Mowgli is just not being in the right place at the right time currently.
We've spoken about both teams individually. They're just about ready for draft, so I need a brief and succinct prediction on who will win this matchup and why.
Yeah, I've got my money on Misfits right now. I think that they tend to draft very easy to execute compositions. That sort of thing is going to be the best look for them coming into a game like this against another weaker team. You have easier stuff, you have hard engage,
but
that'll be the win.
Let me challenge you very quickly. Have Vitality not looked better in their most recent games than Misfits?
I mean, Vitality have looked better, but I still don't know if they've looked better than Misfits necessarily. They both played against the top teams in the league yesterday. They both got smashed, you know? It is a very similar look for both these teams currently, but I think Misfits have the edge.
All right, so there you have it. Enda believes Misfits are going to do it. The alarm bells are ringing for both Misfits and Vitality. This is the perfect time to start the comeback.
Hi, it absolutely is. Thank you, Quick Shot. I'm waiting to see who's going to show up, because historically, both of these teams have been such titans and representatives of European League of Legends. Vitality Worlds, remember, they had the group of death. They basically made sure that Cloud9 can get out by taking down, you know, China and Korea. You got Misfits, who made that fantastic run, almost beat SKT in a best of 5, and And well, now we're here, and it's not what you want to see for either of these teams, and sadly, for one of them to rise, the other one kind of has to fall in this matchup.
Well, we're both technically in a free fall. Now, that said, it feels like Vitality most recently were kind of on this upward trajectory, whereas Misfits are continuing to find a ton of inconsistencies, including in their roster and who's going to be their starting five. I'm glad that they've kind of hit the reset, that they've gone back to Febiven and Maxlor, so leaning back on some of the more experienced players for this roster and trying to right the ship. Now, the good takeaways are actually the likes of Hansama and Gorilla. I feel like Gorilla has had a much better summer than he did in spring, and I think that they should continue to leverage his individual play style, put him on hard engaged champions. And then with Attila on your screen right now, I also do want to give some credit to Vitality's bot lane. Early on in Summer Split, it was a disaster. It was absolutely on fire, but yesterday with that Lucian Yuumi lane, Attila and Jacktroll did just fine. In fact, they just didn't get to play League of Legends, so I feel like both bot lanes are in much better form.
Definitely the case. Not normally a matchup I'm always excited for, but this time around it is going to be a different story. With the mid lane being Corki and Azir, the bot lane inevitably deserves a bit more attention. And it's time for my favorite champ select music, and for Vitality on blue side and Misfits on red.
So who's gonna do it? Who's gonna ban Draven?
That's gonna be a question. Someone's got to do it. Two career Draven players, the Lucian taking out the board, the Mordekaiser will follow, Aurelia as well. Leader's not even here. They still don't want to see it. I think it's Misfits. I think Misfits ban the Draven.
So one of the key things is that a Draven ban not just takes away a signature champion for a lot of the players in the LEC, but also opens up the ability to play champions like Xayah. Draven has really good matchups individually into 2v2s into bot side, particularly against Xayah because she's a lower mobility champion and he can just rock up onto her and out-trade her.
And now Misfits have to debate what the final ban will be. There are a lot of powerful champions left up and available. It will be the Draven ban. And I feel like Vitality are making bank on the back of that. Normally blue side kind of forced to ban the Draven, but forcing Misfits into it instead means they get first pick on the Karma. See if that's something that comes back to bite Misfits here in the draft.
Interesting to see a Sylas ban also come out. It felt to me that if Vitality were going to ban it, that priority rises on the likes of Sejuani in the jungle because you can no longer then answer her with a Sylas jungle. But a Karma priority pick would fall in line after Fnatic did it yesterday.
Would definitely make sense as we look to pass over to Misfits in pick ban
Are you
priority.
ready for the snap lock Azir?
I'm ready for it. Now it does appear there is a bit of a small delay on your screen in terms of champion select. To keep you updated, Azir has been snap locked in as predicted by Frostcurrent, so as we'll pick that one up. For Febiven in the mid lane, and the second pick will now be the Lux as well. Vitality will be entering the second pick phase. So to remind you, bit of a delay on updating the graphic on your screen. It is Azir and Lux going into support and mid lane positions respectively, or so we'd like to think for now.
So this means that there's less likelihood of Xayah Rakan, which now frees up Vitality that in their second rotation, they don't have to grab the Xayah Rakan and have it banned away. You don't really want to play that champion or that duo into Lux because it's very telegraphed in its engage, and it makes it very easy for Lux to land the binding. So we should see Attila and Jacktroll look to a different combination because Gorilla does have access to Lux.
And just to keep you guys updated, we are now entering second ban phase. The first three picks for the Vitality side are Karma, Lee Sin, and Echo. On the opposite side for Misfits, it is the Azir and Lux, which you already knew, as well as the Olaf. We'll get that information in the form of pictures in front of you as quickly as we can. In the meantime, Frostcurrent will provide analysis, and I will just say things that are on the screen for me, which is, you know, not too much different from what I normally do.
What we're going to be doing in the secondary ban phase is we're going to be pinching the pool around the other ADCs, and we're going to try to force Jacktroll and Attila to play Xayah and Rakan, since Misfits can get a favorable matchup into it. So we're going to be banning things like Ezreal, which they've already banned away.
Ezreal taken away from the side of Attila, the Sivir taken away from Hansama. The Jace will be Misfits' final ban in the draft. You can see the champion portraits behind the players showing you what will be picked. We'll keep you updated on the bans.
I actually think it's kind of interesting that Misfits banned the Ezreal here because they actually could have picked it out of our side. Ezreal, Ezreal Lux is a classic combination because if a single binding hits post lane phase, you can basically just delete someone.
Both so push hard.
It tells me that Hansama is going to be playing something else, maybe the Xayah himself.
Good option to the Lee Sin as well as the Echo. It feels like a lot of very telegraphed damage from both of those champions that you can dodge with the ultimate. He's thinking, he's debating though. You can see his face in front of you, as well as the pictures of all of the champions in the draft. That's important. And I think the bans are
They're actually backwards.
For second phase. Only for second phase.
So, Vitality banned Sivir and Callista.
Yep.
Misfits Gaming banned Ezreal and Jace.
Regardless, we get to the second phase now. All 4 of those champions are still not available, and it is going to be the Kai'Sa as well as the Nautilus locked in for Vitality as we move over to Misfits' final pick. Taking their time on this one, counting down.
So we have a lot of comfort champions that are coming out for Vitality here. I think the big one that jumps out is going to be Jizuke on the likes of his Echo. But the ability to play 1-3-1 or 1-4 more appropriately is quite obvious for Vitality because they do have the likes of the Kai'Sa as well as the Echo. So obviously if Jizuke is out into a side lane and Attila wants to participate, he can just start sniping out with his long range W, I believe, and try to get involved.
And now as we move through, final picks and bans coming through on your screen. It is the Zion, the Aatrox side of Misfits Gaming, and the Kai'Sa and the Nautilus for the side of Vitality. I like this from Vitality. Attila's had some fantastic Kai'Sa games in the last season. Going back to it is a good look and a ton of engage on this team with the Lee Sin as well as the Nautilus. But on the opposite side, Misfits responding with some of their own, so as getting the Aatrox on the top side of the map. Actually not sure how good of a matchup that is for the Aatrox up into an obnoxious champion like the Karma.
I'm going to say that you don't really get to lane against Karma, that she just kind of pokes into you and shoves waves and then runs away from you.
Yeah, that sounds like every Karma. So what you're telling me is it never matters. Karma plays every lane the same.
Yeah, basically.
Here we are, folks, our second game of the day, getting closer and closer to the halfway point of the summer split. Working closer and closer to playoffs for many teams. Vitality and Misfits are no exceptions, but there are only 6 slots. One of these teams may not be able to make it if they continue to lose games. Need to see how things will work out for both these squads, both these lineups. Feven returns to Misfits. Can he be the difference maker after Leader's lackluster performance yesterday? We're going to have to find out.
And it feels like we're back to the drawing board for both teams. The fact that it's Feven, that it's Maxor leading the squad, the fact that it's Jizuke's Echo.
Brief moment as I listen to Misfits shout on stage. I will not spoil what I've heard.
They're a very loud team.
Very loud, very communicative, which is important at level 1s because you never know with either of these teams if someone is going to try to force the invade. But since it looks like it'll just be a 5-point, we will instead talk a little bit about these early lane matchups. Now, jungle, Lee Sin versus Olaf is something we've seen a lot for Frostgurn. Instead, lanes, what are you looking at? Where are you looking for both these junglers to go?
Before we kind of delve into the lane phase, I do have some questions about Attila looking back towards the Kai'Sa. We were actually having a discussion this morning about kind of what ADCs have really been meta on 9.13. It felt like Kai'Sa has really disappeared. And I think kind of one of the key issues is her range. She's a really relatively low range, kind of mid-range ADC. And yeah, she has the ability to reposition and she can output a ton of damage given time. It feels like into an Azir, she's going to have not a great time with that champion. So I feel like team fights or skirmishes, team fights are going to be hard to execute. Skirmishes are where Vitality really want to thrive.
Oh, Binding does manage to connect. A bit of early damage down onto Attila, but this is all just a ruse, folks. This is all just a bait. They're trying to keep their eyes here while Maxlor's already taken the Raptor Camp. He's going to walk down and try to smite this one. Mowgli will grab it, but he's now locked up. Level 2 coming through for Maxlor. They're going to try to chase him down. Blast Cone's there too. We'll be able to walk out, but that's Maxlor stealing a camp all but uncontested here. And that's going to make things a lot more difficult for the Lee Sin in the early game as both bot lanes move in.
And it's the fact that with the Azir priority from Feven here to get shoved in and forward, you can see that Maxlor is pathing immediately towards his Raptor camp. This isn't about trying to trade buffs. If he had gotten the red buff, that just would have been the cherry on top. This is about Maxlor denying Mowgli the Raptor camp.
But he may not be able to deny Mowgli this kill, as Feven's going to need to consider his options here. Dodging the Sonic Wave is everything. If this one connects, he's going to be in trouble. Flashes out to safety. Mowgli leaps right away. Does not want to pursue that one, not looking to trade 1-for-1.
And that was a great pivot from Mowgli to see what was happening, to know that he couldn't just walk into the jungle and instead turn on Feven. So Feven tried to get Maxlor some sort of leverage here, and instead the bullseye was painting onto him as now the junglers.
1v1, Mowgli needs to walk his way out of this one. Can Sonic Wave over to the red buff, and he is going to do it to escape. Can now walk away. Maxlor looking for the refresh on the axe. The flash is forced out. Maxlor with his flash available will just turn back to the buff. Mowgli, good to try to contest that. There was no stats difference between the champions. They're both level 2. The camp difference didn't make a difference in the end, but Olaf just much stronger in melee range.
Yeah, trying to find his window where Febiven wouldn't be able to rotate there, so it's clear why Mowgli went on the aggressive, but good outmaneuvering and outplaying by Maxlor here to really get control over this early game jungle pathing.
Yeah, love Mowgli burning the flash in the mid lane, but perhaps staying to contest that red was a bit too much. Maxlor reads him like a book. Jaxlor will be able to walk away there on the back of that trade. Both supports opting for the aftershock means we may not see too much bloodshed here, either side wanting to overcommit. And for Oscar, and I like what you talk about the AD carries. We see so many, you know, kind of pseudo-castrated carries like Xayah, champions who can just build flat AD and rely a bit more on their spells. And you're right, and I'm curious to see what the build is for the Kai'Sa, because we did see the tier Muramana build be a bit more popular, a bit of a smoother item curve, can transition either into an AP or an AD build later in the game. But maybe he's just got something new to show us on Kai'Sa. This is a champion that constantly has the builds evolving.
I feel like it is going to be the Muramana build, but like you said, we'll keep our eyes onto it, and it just means that around 25 minutes that Kai'Sa is basically fully unlocked and ready to go. So again, it's that power curve and itemization that make Kai'Sa ready to go in kind of the mid-game.
See what Attila can do once again. Was considered one of the weaker links on this team earlier, but now I've been looking at him to step up, was the stronger performer in the lanes against Fnatic yesterday. Cabo, as expected, will continue to pressure out this wave, so as can pretty comfortably move forward to CS here.
The unfortunate thing, though, is that Cabochard can probably feel pretty confident that he's not going to be disturbed up here in this top lane, and he can push forward into Aatrox because Febiven doesn't have access to Flash. This is one of the key things for Azir. Now, into the Echo matchup, it might be a little bit better, you know, versus something like a Corki that can try to match the wave clear, but you need to stay near this Azir to protect him, so he can actually make full use of his kit.
Oh, Mowgli with the cheeky smite. Gotta like that one. I was gonna say, Maxlor doing his best Mowgli impression with some of this passing, just going in to deny every single camp he can. But Mowgli will get the smite out there, and now the stun comes through. That's big damage on the Febiven. This is gonna be bad news, but Jizuke just going to walk away, forcing a few more cooldowns, stopping the back. Attila just backing off on the backside as well, but a lot of aggressive trading here across every single lane.
Really good heads-up play by Jizuke. Febiven was standing on a control ward. You could see why he thought he was safe. Just Jizuke checking the brush.
And it's something that you always have to respect. The binding as well, though, will connect onto Jacktroll. Maxlor is on the way in. Jacktroll going to turn, though, back with the hook. The Ignite goes down. Going through. The TP is now coming to the backside. Jacktroll flashes out. Mowgli's in. He can use Attila as a highway to get in the midst of this team fight. Jizuke coming in. Flash forward, moving forward. That's first blood. Now going back, trying to lock him up. Two people are going to get stunned up here. Just the one in the end. Gorilla now in trouble. Out of mana. That means he's not going to get the aftershock proc. Jizuke needs to make his way out. He's fast, but he's not fast enough. The Darkened Blade will find the kill, and now Mowgli is on the retreat. Attila tries to fire back, but I don't think there's anything he can do here. Locked up by the Infernal Change. Jacktroll wants to turn it. Can they get it? Gorilla's still alive. I can't believe it. They get it to kill back. It's a bloodbath and a triple for Soaz.
And that means the Aatrox loses absolutely nothing by making the teleport down to the bottom. A triple kill now into his pocket. It is very well worth it, despite the fact that Cabochard got all of the free time with the wave. Soaz is going to be a monster up here now.
Ooh, we have to look back at this one. Such an extended fight, but it starts with Jacktroll getting aggressive.
And it's the fact that they don't immediately lock up Jacktroll with the initial feather pullback. At this point, Jizuke's like, Hansama is definitely going to be mine, but he expends the flash and does a good job by buying enough time in this initial skirmish. But without that flash, he's never going to get out safely here. So just trying to do as much damage as possible. And I think kind of the salt in the wound is the fact that Aatrox is the guy who's going to pick up all of these kills.
And honestly, shout out to Soaz. Hits 3 out of, I believe, 4 of the Darkened Blade sweet spots there across that play.
And this is the thing about Soaz, is that while I feel like he doesn't have the same depth of champion pool as some of the other top laners in the LEC right now, especially when you start looking towards the likes of Wonder, on his champions like Aatrox, they just mean so much for him. He is a very good Aatrox player.
Now he's a very good Aatrox player with 20% CDR 7 minutes into the game. Definitely not something that you want to see when you return to lane. The Cop Fields as well as the Kindle Gems. So things are going to get a bit harder for Cabo. He wanted to make money off this Klepto in the early game, and it's going to be a bit more difficult for him to step forward. Still, though, champion matchup alone will guarantee that Cabo can continue to push forward here. Jizuke, though, getting frisky, looking for a play. The ultimate's going to be traded and forced out. Good heads up there by Febiven. One defensive tool gone from Jizuke.
Means that Jizuke can no longer use that ultimate in the time being to possibly set up a dive, as Febiven is starting to struggle a little bit with these trades.
It's always hard against the Echo. You get so much damage with the Electrocute as well as the Z-Drive Resonance.
Yeah, and it's just really hard until Febiven has access to a mana pool.
We'll see.
Echo's ability to kind of get underneath the place Sand Soldiers with all of his mobility means that as soon as Febiven kind of sets up his Sand Soldiers, if Echo just zips up on top of him, he can trade really easily.
Yeah, it's kind of like the old school warfare thing where people used to line up. That's what Azir wants. Like, please just line up and fight me toe to toe. None of this like hiding or jumping around stuff. Not a fan. And Gorilla continues to be a nuisance. This is part of the reason why we see Lux banned a lot, I think, is moments like this. You can see how obnoxious this champion is. Heard from a lot of pro players that it's just miserable to lane against. It feels like you're laning against 3 champions. You just cannot kill the Lux when she has Aftershock.
It just feels really bad in that she can take Aftershock and then just put all of her points into the W. So he's
just
got
shield. You're just immortal.
And you just do ridiculous damage on top of it. It feels like to really kind of balance out Lux support that you need to somehow move the damage back into where she needs to make the choice. Do I put points into W so I can just win trades off of the passive procs? Versus putting all of your points in E or Q for either lower CDR or just better damage to be competitive in lanes.
For now, Gorilla doesn't have to make that choice. The Misfits have chosen to pick up the Ocean Drake. That one will be spotted out, but will not be stopped by the side of Vitality. And in the meantime, Cabochard continues to dominate on the top side. We thought 3 kills for Soaz. Surely it's enough to shift the matchup back into his favor, but it is simply not. Maybe forced to proc the ult here as Mowgli moves under the tower. Locking himself up here is difficult. Instantly forcing out the ult. The Infernal changes to connect. He's going to have a lot of healing if he can connect, but it's not going to be enough. The shutdown is there. 3 kills just means a shutdown for Mowgli.
And the issue here is that he didn't have access to Flash. You can still see that with the tower and Aatrox damage, that still is pretty big, but he doesn't have any sort of ability to contest with the wave clear. So Cabochard will still be pushed forward, but there's also the point of when is Maxlor going to give Soaz the time of day? This Aatrox is strong if you fight with him, but if he just gets shoved under his tower, doesn't get any sort of assistance, it's going to be easy to make a dive like that on a flashless top laner.
And it would be good to see that adaptation, something we haven't seen from Max Lord yet in this game. One more time at the top. Of course, instant ulti proc, wants the extra healing on the damage, but simply just not enough.
Good job from Mowgli to immediately start with the Dragon Rage kick to make sure that you're pretty much guaranteed to land the Sonic Wave there.
And difficult, you can see Soaz target prioritizing Cabo because he knows he doesn't have any dashes, a nade in the kit, hoping to maybe force a flash out there, but will not work, will not connect on the sweet spot on the first cast of the Dark Blade. And things in the top lane, supposed to be the strong point of the map, are getting a little bit difficult, and now we're immediately going to see a lane swap. No longer. Soaz doesn't want anything to do with it. Get me away from that karma.
It's also about the Rift Herald now being kind of the primary objective since Ocean has gone down. So Misfits continuing to try to drive tempo in this game and speed things up. But Vitality are willing to go toe-to-toe and very quickly match the lane swap.
Now Mowgli, though, is spotted out on this play. Has to be careful. Binding connects, as you talked about how much burst damage the Lux can do. Now it's just an Olaf axe to follow, but it will not connect. Mowgli, quick enough on the click, and of course still a relatively slow projectile. Warrior Enchantment for both junglers. Maxlor not going for any kind of tanky route. Has a lot of damage at his disposal, but will be spotted out on this ward, so it means that Vitality's bot lane knows that they need to play a little bit safer. Have to respect the potential for Olaf to just run at your face with that ultimate.
Vitality right now are fighting for mid priority because they know if they get it, it dissuades Misfits from immediately starting the Rift Herald. So right now we're actually seeing a tug of war over who's going to get priority on this topside river to feel confident enough to start up Rift Herald. We're teetering on the edge of some sort of fight.
And this might just be that fight. Gorilla now stepping forward. Eyes on the binding. Where's it going to go? Mowgli's over the wall. Looks like he did lay down a ward, so they know that this is coming. Gorilla has connected the binding. A lot of damage on the lead. Sitting tries to leap out, but Febiven goes the wrong way. Mowgli with his might, it is not enough. Attila on his lonesome with the exhaust is going to leap forward. They give him an exit with a bit of CC. Now Attila can walk his way out of the fight. Jizuke in the midst of everything. Eyes on the Echo. That is going to be so much damage into the midst of everyone. Z-Drive versus proccing. The ulti coming out. It is Jizuke versus the world. Just Attila as a spectator in this game. Yeah, you go golden, but there's no path left. Han Sama tries to make it look pretty, but it is not enough. Gorilla will walk out with his life, but that is a one fight for Vitality.
And again, back to comfort for Vitality. Jizuke says, you know, the Azir, the Luden's Echo, I'm no longer going to play with it. I am going back to Echo, and I am going to make them pay for it.
So clean. When we talk about comfort picks, few are more iconic in EU than Jizuke's Echo. The TP coming in, potentially a bit suspect here. The stun will connect with the input buffer. Shifting sands will take Febiven out to safety. And Mowgli now moving into the bottom side of the map. Snare is still going to connect. Soaz in trouble. No, the Darkened Blade timing is not there, and suddenly we have Vitality in control.
But this was a triple kill Aatrox, and he is just getting 2v1 the entire time. Again, it just feels like Misfits, they're not grouping their resources really where they need to be. They're not playing around where they were finding their power. So this fight initially starts out and looks pretty clean. It's the fact that Gorilla hits 2 key bindings. You know, he chunks out Mowgli at the start of the fight. He then lands the binding right there on Jack Troll, and you think, okay, this is finally for Misfits. They've done it. But this Echo is able to just get right into the thick of things and cause so much destruction.
And the flash over to try to get the connection there on the Time Winder. Hansama tries to get out, but the red buff, sadly, you know, he was close to finding the escape there, but was not able to get out in the end. And there's a Dark Seal as well for Jizuke, Proto Belt on the way. So it's only going to go from bad to worse playing up against this guy.
The red buff or the Rift Herald that gave him the slap?
Oh, I mean, he was burning from the red buff. I forgot that maybe, I mean, that's even cooler. I gave credit to red buff because that's the thing that Jizuke had, but sometimes, you know, you got to enlist neutral monsters to back you up. Broken Shard learned that the hard way.
I didn't wear my glasses today, but I thought it was funny.
Wait, you just didn't wear your glasses? Are you blind this entire time? Well, at least we can see that this dive is happening. Soaz instantly taken down. Just like that, folks. We come out of the replay and another death. Now we're playing at Vitality's pace of game.
And Vitality are trading the fact that they have, or Misfits have control over top side of the map, and instead just trying to trade objectives. So forcing down Soaz, getting all of those tower plates as well as the structure itself.
Ooh. If you take a look at the goal learned on the left side of your screen, Cabo, Jizuke, and Attila all at the top. Now that might shift a bit back for Hansama as he's going to grab some of these isolated plates. But look at the strongest member of Misfits. That's Soaz. And he went from 3-0 to 3-3 pretty quickly in this game. Tower will break though. Mowgli will get the Cloud Drake on the bottom side. So at the end of the day, Misfits doing what they can to trade back the gold, very much in favor of Vitality. 3.3K for this team overall.
And as the map continues to open up, I actually think it favors Vitality at this point because they have managed to funnel so much gold onto Mowgli as well as Jizuke. So their ability to play side lanes and look for assassination potential in kind of these 2v2s or 2v3s is exponentially high.
And of course, Frostgurn checking in now as itemization comes out. Hold that thought. So as Cam, he will make it out this time around. Only 3-3, not 3-4 today.
He has been living with Mowgli. He's not actually laning against Cabo Shard. It's Mowgli and Cabo.
Oh, miserable experience. You're already playing against the Karma. Of course, important to note that Attila, with the items that he has, will be very close, if not already, getting the Kaisa Q Evolve. Depends on how much AD he's currently getting from the Mount Immune. So part of the strength of this build is you get a pretty early Q Evolve with this, not needing the BF Sword double pickaxe. Can just instead get more mana, which gives you extra mana and a bit of extra damage as well.
I feel like it's that, again, 25-minute mark. I feel like when we've been timing it in solo queue, it's now the popular build on the Kaisa.
Yeah. And it makes sense. It feels so, for those of you who have played it, you'll know this feeling, but it
feels very strong.
It feels very smooth, too. You feel strong at pretty much every point of the game, outside of when you go back for tier. But other than that, really solid overall. Good to see it on this stage. And, you know, Kai's obviously a very exciting champion to watch, see how effective she can be as we move later in the game. But right now, Vitality in absolute control here, and things potentially just going to keep getting better as they're now moving into this 1-3-1.
Yeah, and this is where we said that their composition can actually really thrive as long as it's Mowgli who's shadowing underneath Jizuke. You can see right now the Lee Sin is actually on the bottom side of the map, whereas Echo's on the top side. Hansama does need to be careful though. He needs a buddy if he wants to actually approach that tower.
And there's a ward there too, so Jizuke knows that this is coming. And Jizuke, a guy that we've had our eyes on. You heard it yesterday. He wants to be the proactive player. He would rather be 0-4 as the Azir. It has not been a great split for him this far. First half of spring, good. Second half of spring, really rough. And now he's been kind of in the middle, but this is a good game that could put him back on the map. One solo kill, I imagine that might go up today, but the 7 isolated deaths, I think the bigger story for this player.
They still need to manage to close out now that Jizuke has been given a lot of that power and a lot of the agency in the game. Looking back at Misfits' composition, their ability to teamfight is still very strong. Kind of the line damage and zone control that they have in teamfights between Isaiah, Lux, and Azir. Again, if a single binding hits, that person is basically dead and deleted off the face of the earth.
Can they find that opportunity? Gorilla continues to be a very vocal member in the team shot calling in the mid game. If you're in the studio, you can probably hear him calling out, making a plan for lane assignments, trying to find an opportunity. Mowgli remains slippery with that Cloud Drake, moving between lanes. Also looking for an opportunity to dive, but Vitality will just take mid lane priority here. As Misfits are a bit slow to arrive. I don't think they're going to be able to break the tower quite yet, but they get a good bit of damage down as Jizuke remains uncontested on the top side. Hansama is just there to pick up that wave once it crashes.
And it's the fact that Misfits had to expend multiple members to cover that mid lane tower. And again, Hansama cannot approach this Echo alone. Echo will simply dive him if he has access to the ultimate as well as the flash.
Man, the Protobell on top of that, there's just really no way for Hansama to get out, even with all of his sums up and available. Mid-game Echo, one of the most terrifying champions in the game to play against.
And now there's going to be a lot of pressure on Misfits. You can see Jisuke's plan is pretty clear. He cleared the tower on the top side. He then reset. He's walking towards this red buff, but he's got the Lich Bang complete. He'll pick this up, and he'll probably kick himself out into that bot lane. And Jisuke is going to continue to be a nuisance in these side lanes. And so Misfits need to either hit a binding, find a flank, start a fight. Something needs to happen for them to break this type of play pattern, or they're going to slowly watch their map disappear.
For now, they're fortunate that Jizuke is not really applying any more pressure here. We'll move now down to the bottom side. Soaz will also have to respect the Echo. Of course, a little bit of room for outplay. The way that Infernal Chains works with the Echo ultimate is a bit interesting depending on how it times out. But Jizuke stepping forward into max lore. Third proc on the Z-Drive Resonance means he just speeds away. But a lot of potential burst damage. Soaz not concerned, however.
I mean, not concerned yet.
Not concerned yet, because he knows that he has to hit the creeps. Could be concerned momentarily. Binding will not connect from Gorilla. So once again, looking for those opportunities to fish, looking for both teams to push up, potentially set up a bit of vision here.
Jizuke's trying to just get as many members as possible to commit to him to allow Vitality to shove down this mid lane tower. So Misfits are now trying to make their choice. Do I go with Soaz and try to pick off the Echo into the side lane, or do I commit to my mid lane and try to alleviate this pressure here? And Maxlor is being tugged around the map.
Now Soaz going to be in trouble here. Protobell connects, third stack, Z-Drive Resonance. He's just going to walk away. Half of Soaz's health in a single trade down. Jack Troll sees his opportunity to move into the mid lane. Will sidestep there without that binding. There is no aftershock for Gorilla, much more vulnerable, but just the tower will be taken in the end by Vitality, knowing that Soaz cannot TP mid.
That's not something you normally see from Vitality. That was patience, that was control, that was Jack Troll looked them dead in the eye and was like, not today, boys, you shall survive this one. Instead, they took what they came for, they got the objective, they turned it on the dragon, and they used this to reset tempo and make their backs.
Now Double Cloud 2 on the composition that wants to move around the map, that wants to move between the lanes. It's already hard enough to get away from Jizuke. Will only get harder here. Soaz can step forward, try to steal this one away, but Jizuke will still have the last laugh, will be able to grab that. And despite not having a lot of mana, still not afraid to step forward, clear out this vision.
Soaz has to be very careful. He's level 13, and we've seen Jizuke hit this Aatrox, and he hits him very hard.
But the ward is still alive for Jizuke. He's determined here with this blue buff.
He's playing a little bit with fire here because his team's not actually in position to make use of this.
Yeah, but Gorilla's... Oh, just gonna... That is the second time we have seen a Vitality player not commit for a kill. That's wild. I sincerely thought he was gonna wait.
So here's the thing. He did his job. Like, he dragged 4 members, but like...
No, but there it is. Okay. There you go. Some of the old roots coming through. Now he has been locked up over the wall. Attila now trying to escape from this one. Aftershock proc, so Jack Troll quite tanky for a little bit of time, but Mogui's on the way in. Maxlor has to be careful.
It's not actually old Vitality unless Attila actually dies there. So this is new Vitality because Attila survived, got the kill, and walked out.
Good look overall for this lineup. Both teams at 2 and 5. Vitality now looking to go up to 3 and 5 if they can find the win here. 6.5 gold lead. 6.5K. Much more impressive than 6.5 gold. And Cavalcard coming around the corner here. Just a bit more damage. And Vitality are slowly but surely choking Misfits out of this game, denying vision, denying these buffs, taking away jungle camps, and continuing to push out here in the 1-3-1.
Hansama also now having to be careful. I'm surprised Vitality haven't immediately charged towards that Xayah. He was very far forward down that mid lane.
Still has ult, still has flash. Ooh. Good bit of damage. Sadly, not enough. You may notice that Merc Treads have come through for Mowgli. Will make it a lot harder to guarantee the Lux ult. And Mowgli not afraid of Maxlor in the 1v1 either, knowing that his team is there to back him up.
Vitality are just trying to simultaneously create pressure. Again, they're a little bit off. Like, I don't want to criticize them too much because they are doing a much better job in the past. They have a massive gold lead, but this is now kind of 3 instances where they're pressuring in the red jungle, but Jizuke is not on the bottom side of the map yet. He was actually in base walking. Or Jizuke was drawing 4 members and using his ultimate, but the rest of his team was actually in base or walking into position. And if they can just sink this, which they finally now looks like they're going to do, that's when they're going to be able to start choking away more of these objectives or looking for things like picks. So while they're still in the lead, while they're still kind of picking up some free gold, taking away jungle camps, it's not as effective as it could be.
But maybe now with Attila picking up the 3rd item, we will see a bit more proactive play. Of course, has both the Q and the E evolve here.
What was he holding there? Is that a fire extinguisher?
That's a fire extinguisher, yes.
He's like, I must put out the flame of Rogue right now.
Just had to make that as BM as possible, didn't you? And
That really surprised me.
I don't know when we started giving players props, and it's very mixed.
Hikyu had a banana.
Hikyu had a banana. Vander has a fire extinguisher. There's a hidden message there. Redemption will come down to make sure that no one is on the Baron. They're not. They're backing off here.
I feel like that's technically correct, though, because like Vander showed up on the roster. He's like, I'm here to save
when we
the
first
day.
saw Vander come in, he's like, no. Just put that one out, put this one out. Not interested. And for Jizuke now, this is the thing about 1-3-1 Frostgreen, is like when it's super clean and you're super far ahead, it's, you know.
But he started Baron.
It's like a surgeon. It's a practice surgeon.
They're still doing Baron.
You know, and then when you're behind, it's a bit like a bread knife. This feels a bit bread knifey to me, a little bit forced.
I mean, if they get this Baron, does it upgrade it to like a cleaver?
Yeah, they're hacking their way through. This is brute force.
Look at what Max Lure
Hansama
is.
and Gorilla are like, ah, yes, we got the ward. Good job. Guys, you didn't. Oh, no, they got the Baron.
It's now a cleaver.
And this is the thing. I'm liking what we're seeing from Vitality. It's bits of old Vitality and bits of new Vitality. Sneaking Barons like old Vitality. Attila's going for kills like old Vitality, but not everyone is pulling the trigger all the time, and it's paying off.
Yeah, we're having a lot of patience. We are having the correct idea. I still think that there's a little bit of refinement, but if you're a Vitality fan, you're almost 10K gold up over Misfits. Feeling pretty good.
Yeah, for both these teams that are competing for some of those bottom playoff spots at this stage of the regular season. Good to see. Continued development of this Vitality bot lane from liability to really showing up across a lot of these plays.
And we thought that there was going to be some issues in terms of the 5v5. You know, the fact that Attila is on something like a Kai'Sa into an Azir can be a bit of a struggle. But so far, there really hasn't been any big 5v5s. There's, I think, been one team fight where it was very split up. But Vitality are staying true to their roots and playing these side lanes around Jizuke.
It's working out quite nicely. And of course, this is only Vitality's second Baron of the split. See what they can do with it. And of course, when you look at damage dealt to champions, it's, you know, you see the karma in the top lane. Otherwise, it's mostly been the Echo show. Across these team fights, across all this poke, you see that Soaz just has to eat every time he wants to step forward and clear the wave. But look for any piece of CC to land, because Attila is very strong right now and could ult in at a moment's notice.
And that's one of the issues with Misfits composition, is that unless Gorilla hits a binding, there's just not a way to force a fight to try to trap someone and break this this spread that Vitality have on the map.
And Jizuke just pretty much ignores Soaz to clear out the wave there and take down the tower. So the tier 2s are already starting to break. 3 members strong in the mid lane. Binding misses. This is huge for Lux support. Without Binding, you cannot proc Aftershock, and it means you are so incredibly squishy.
It also means just nothing will happen for Misfits. If the binding doesn't hit, they just, okay, wait for the cooldown, try again.
And in the meantime, Karma breaks the tower in the top lane. They're getting closer to breaking tower in the mid lane. This is a slow closeout. And Jizuke now going to move forward into Soaz when his cooldowns come back up. Good play by Soaz to try to make it out. Redemption is coming through. He goes back, but he has to go back into the Misfit space. What can Vitality get done in the meantime? Can Jizuke Houdini his way out of this one? Dashing away, stun is there.
I'm gonna say no.
Nope, dash out is dead. Gotta give the Echo player a chance. Does get taken down in the meantime. His team breaks the tier 2. Can they break the inhibitor tower as well? Doesn't look like it's gonna happen, so Jizuke overstaying his welcome there on the bottom side of the map.
You may not like it, Dracos, but this is what peak Vitality looks like right now. We're the 10K gold lead. We had all the Baron buffs, but we still dove a little bit too deep on the bottom inhib.
And now I feel like they might dive this tower.
No.
Well, Soaz is definitely looking for the flank. Good thing is the flanking vision is there. That was really aggressive from Jack Troll.
Who is flanking who?
He was fiending for that Aatrox, but Misfits are now looking for the collapse. If they fight in this funnel, it'll be very easy for Gorilla to land that binding for Misfits to find their shot, but it looks like they are just going to back off. It may take one more Baron if Vitality want to end the game.
You know, maybe that's a completely different engagement if Jizuke had access to his teleport because his death timer was about to tick up, but again, you're seeing a lot of measured play from majority of the Vitality members.
And I like how Jizuke plays this. The issue is that the long pathing into the base there does force the ultimate to take him into enemy territory.
But again, this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. Look at the rest of your map. While Jizuke is, like, way too hero in this backline, Vitality aren't in position to get anything for it. You know, that's a totally fine play if you give over that shutdown to the Aatrox, if your team is able to break an inhib or take some sort of epic monster objective.
Oh, Febiven dies.
Or kill Febiven.
Yeah, Frostgreen, what about that? Didn't see that one coming. Well, Attila does a lot of damage, fun fact. Kai'Sa's still very strong.
Attila's like, it doesn't matter if Azir's in front of me.
Max
Like,
Lord is
I'll
getting
just kill him.
impatient, but he's just going to
Kill him
die.
too.
Attila does so much damage. I think he can just kill everyone in this fight. There's really nothing left for them. The exhaust is there. Gorilla is now in trouble. Ulti comes through. He takes another one. Jacktroll will not connect on the binding, but Attila's just too strong. They can't actually win a fight right now.
And that is what an 11k gold lead looks like at 27 minutes on this Kai'Sa build. If it was a bit more even, he probably wouldn't be able to do that, but Attila knows how strong he is. He's like, no, we are ending it right here and now.
And Vitality absolutely dictating the pace of this game. That's going to be another one. Hansama goes up, comes back. It's the triple root, but it is not enough. Jizuke will still find the kill. Soaz next on the list. That's going to be the ace, and Vitality will move into the base, break these towers, end the game, and find themselves with a one-game advantage over Misfits. Fevivin, he gets the style play. He makes it out, but it's not going to matter. Attila has his eyes on the prize, and Vitality will find the win.
There was a glimmer of hope there for Misfits fans when Soaz got that triple kill, but it just didn't mean anything. Vitality felt like they were in control of the map at every corner. They were able to funnel their gold on Jizuke as soon as the Echo was strong and he was able to contest into that mid lane, contest out into the side lanes. Vitality just very easy ripped the map away from Misfits. And they just didn't have any sort of hard CC to force fights. It was, if Gorilla didn't hit the binding on a appropriate target, you know, they couldn't force the flanks. They couldn't try to break the 1-4 or the 1-3-1.
And this draft was one of the things that I really wanted to see from Vitality, which was adaptation. They've shown new picks like the Karma Top, but they're also willing to bring out old picks, things like the Kai'Sa that they're practiced on, that they're ready to go for. And additionally, Jizuke's Echo. Long time, it's been, for the longest time, it's been something that he's picked into the Azir as a counter pick. We've seen it since his time in the Spanish leagues, and now he's bringing it out on stage as Azir comes back into meta, and it's going to make a lot of teams second guess their pick ban strategy up against this Vitality lineup.
And so far this week at the LEC has posed a lot of questions about who kind of is the mid pack in the LEC. You know, with SK Gaming falling today to Excel, with Excel now on the rise, their early game now transitioning into strong mid games, and Vitality, you know, yeah, they lost to Fnatic, but looking very consistent and very strong against Misfits today. There's now all of the questions that we thought we had answered in week 3 are now all posed for week 4.
And it feels like we have a top 2 in Fnatic and G2. Maybe you believe in the OG spice below that, and then everything else is up for grabs. A quick wink from Jacktroll as well. Shout out to him. Great Nautilus play. Held back, still made some of those flashy plays on the bottom side of the map. And
I mean, you have to give shout-outs to both Attila and Jacktroll. Again, there was so much heavy criticism at them in those 2v2 bottom in the early weeks, but the last 4 games, they have been just fine. Even in their losses, it wasn't their fault. They didn't get to participate in the game. So Jacktroll and Attila have certainly turned it around. Very consistent.
well, they are both options on your key player of the game vote. At LOL Esports on Twitter is the place. You can vote for Jizuke, the Echo Master, Attila, bringing back the Kai'Sa, or Jacktroll playing that Nautilus. Whatever you prefer, folks. I'm going to say it's hard to take this one away from Jizuke, though. Unless you saw that last play where he ran down a little bit. It's up to you, folks. But more importantly, you've heard enough from us. Let's check in with the analyst desk and quick shot for that more on that Vitality win.
Thank you very much, Draco. So it's actually really great to see shots of Vitality backstage celebrating, smiling, laughing. And why not? After a fantastic performance, we were talking before the game about individuals that needed to step up, that needed to improve. I got excited because it looked like everybody was doing it, and then Misfits didn't.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, we saw, I think, Soaz get that triple kill in the bottom lane. It was like, wow, he's so fed. This is his game to step up and to make it happen. And it looked like for those first, 5-10 minutes that this game was all Misfits after that big play down there in the bottom lane. But Vitality completely took over after that.
Well, we do actually have a replay from Soaz's point of view taken from his pro view, which you can get at riot.com/proview. So let's take a look at this, starting with the TP. And Enda, tell me what you like about this.
Yeah, well, right off the bat, this play down bottom lane was initiated by Misfits, but it's a teleport from Jizuke behind them. That's where things start to get a little bit hairy. So you see that we make sure we get through this recall, so Soaz gets full, HP, can go for a buy right before he comes back in. She's like, okay, give me some CDR, give me some quick items, now I'm ready to fight. And you'll notice he uses his E to reposition to land the sweet spot on the Q, and then the flash also to make sure he can knock out Jizuke. It just extended a little bit too far, and then that makes chasing after for these extra kills pretty easy for him.
So I started to get excited. At the beginning of this game, we actually criticized Wood. I specifically specifically said I wanted to see more from Soaz, and I thought, right, on an Aatrox, a champion, he's 0-3 in Summer On. He's now picked up 3 kills, but the man that we just zoomed in on, Jizuke, said not today. He ran the Echo. We talked about it yesterday. Jizuke does have some of these pocket picks. What did you make of his performance?
I mean, I thought it was very good from him all around, starting in the laning phase. I thought it was a very good answer into the Azir. We didn't see it a ton inside the game, but I was watching his pro view actually, and he was taking a lot of good trades up against that champion. Of course, this is a comfort pick for him, one of the champs that he made his name in the LEC on. And in this play here too, it honestly, he cleans up a lot towards the end of this fight, because the focus wasn't really on him. But see how he uses this chrono break to reposition back into the team. Even though he's high HP, he gets that big damage onto both members of Misfits there. And then I disagree a little bit with the flash choice to get that kill on towards Hansama, but you can't doubt that he had a fantastic game here.
What I really liked, Draco said 2 different points that I loved. He said, Vitality did not chase a kill. And he was stunned and shocked. And it was great to see a little bit of tempered aggression on the Vitality side. But then also, the question mark. We're seeing so many Azirs in the meta right now. And if Jizuke can have this level of impact on the Echo, it will make other teams consider whether they want to run it against the squad.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I feel like Echo is a champion that you have to put a lot of games on before you're fully comfortable with. As you can see, Jizuke being our only real Echo player here in the LEC, but we've heard that there are counters to this Azir pick that has been popping out. You know, we've seen the Corki not do too well on the LEC stage, so I think these teams will start to try and figure out other options to take into it. And Vitality, they have the benefit of already having that one special one for them.
And of course, we'll have to see if you have to ban the Echo. What do you allow through that might slip to another player on the team? We talked a lot about the Echo. We talked a lot about Jizuke because he is your key player of the game. He picked it up with 48% of the votes. This will also push Vitality now 3 wins and 5 losses. They are now, in fact, tied with SK Gaming, which means Vitality are now in a playoff berth. And you have to feel, based on the last 2 weeks of games, that Vitality look like a stronger team than SK.
Definitely. I mean, I think that the last 2 weeks have been much better for them, and specifically, I think Frost brought it up at the end of the game. Their bottom lane is looking stable now, and that is such a big difference for them. Yesterday, going toe-to-toe and staying even with Reckless and Hylissang, which is one of our better 2v2s in the LEC, and then today, doing very well. Attila popped off in this game, even though it was usually Jizuke we saw making moves in side lanes. Attila played very, very well, and that's going to be so important for them to make that fight to try and get into playoffs.
The Portuguese sniper using that Kaiser W just to take people out everywhere. Let's quickly just touch on the fact that Misfits are now 2 wins, 6 losses. They're sitting way out of playoff contention. There is only 18 games in the split. They've played 8. They've tried the entire roster. It does not look good for this squad.
This team looks completely lost. Honestly, it doesn't matter who's playing mid lane. It doesn't matter who's playing jungle. I just don't see how this team actually ever makes plays happen. This game, I don't feel like they made a single proactive play. They didn't have champions to hard engage. They didn't have the calls in the early to mid outside of that one TP play bottom lane. They just sort of gave up, threw up their hands, were like, all right, I guess we can go next.
Something drastic has to change for Misfits to turn this one around. Coming up next, you can catch the newest episode of LEC Legends with Mithy before he and Origin take on Rogue.
Till it tries to fire back.